Alright guys, I hope you're all doing well. I'm just going to double check that the sound and the audio and video seem to be working okay. So yeah, I'm not sure if the streaming settings, I haven't done this for a while, so I'm not sure if the streaming settings are flowing in high definition or not, but I'm pretty sure the recording will be in high definition, so you can always watch this back later. So anyway, I just thought I'd do a quick TA update. I haven't got a lot of time these days, but I just thought I'd do a TA update with all the uncertainty and all the crap that's going on in the crypto space right now. I thought it would be appropriate as I've got a little bit of time off this afternoon. So let's crack straight on. On the crypto heat map, you can see that the great majority of it is in the green, so there's a little bit of a relief bounce going on here. Nothing really too special. I mean, Solana is up 9%. I'm not entirely sure why. Matic is up 5%, but Ethereum is only 3.5%, and Bitcoin is 2.8% up. On the stock market is a mixed bag, so a lot of it is in the green, a lot of it is in the red, so it's very mixed kind of scenario here. But I know the S&P pumped, so like I said, it's been a while, so let's just check the correlation chart and just see if we're still correlated to the S&P. Now, what I have noticed is that even though we were very closely correlated, the blue line here is the S&P, the orange line is Bitcoin, of course, and you can see that we were very closely correlated up until recently. And then these swings here, Bitcoin was just kind of going sideways here, not much with the swings of the S&P. And of course, now the S&P has pumped from around about 3,750 points to about 3,980, very close to the 4,000 point mark. But Bitcoin dumped. Okay, so this is of course because of the debacle with FTX and Alameda Research. And of course, when things like this happen, it's bad for everyone. And I do hope that you guys are all right, and that nobody had funds on the FTX exchange. Just as a piece of advice, if you want to reduce any counterparty risk, because this might have ripple effects, I would recommend that you take the great majority of your equity out of exchanges and put it in your hardware wallets or offline wallets, whatever it might be, and just keep really the bare essentials of what you want to trade with on the exchange. And you can, this is basically why you use leverage. You use leverage to reduce that counterparty risk. So you can use then leverage to still trade with the size that you want to trade with, but then you only have limited exposure because most of your stack is stashed away in a hardware wallet, safe and sound, so it doesn't matter if the exchange collapses or not. Okay, so I always advocate good risk management. So you still, even though if you increase your leverage, you still have to play to your risk and apply your risk management strategy. But it's just a way of reducing exposure to the exchanges. Anyway, like I was saying, the correlation is really kind of a little bit broken. You can see here Bitcoin was just going sideways whilst the S&P had been quite volatile in comparison here to Bitcoin. And of course, now Bitcoin decided to dump here and the S&P is going up. Now, usually this correlation tends to happen usually during New York and London sessions, but we're starting to see that is kind of like de-pegging a little bit. And of course it's because there's so much fear in the crypto market, and even though there is fear in the traditional finance markets, there's no SBF and FTX on the traditional markets, so we're not seeing the same kind of reactions to price as we are seeing in crypto. So this is a blessing in disguise. To be honest, I don't like the fact that Bitcoin is so closely correlated to the traditional markets. So I hope that this is the end of the correlation, so that we don't have to track the FOMC, the CPI, the PCE, the S&P, and all of this crap with the traditional finance markets. I think crypto should be independent. And so I hope that this is the end of the correlation. But you can see here, there's definitely a divergence here where the S&P has gone up and Bitcoin has gone down. So good riddance to that. In terms of the S&P, just because we can actually track that, you can see here that we've been doing some serious work here. It's kind of pumped up, came back, confirmed the previous resistance as support, and it's going all the way back up, and it's back inside this value area low here on the yearly VWAP, but we've got serious resistance here at 4,000 points. Okay, so what remains to be seen is, at the moment, the correlation, like I said, for the upside anyway, there's too much fear in crypto markets, so the correlation to the upside is non-existent. So even though the S&P has gone up, Bitcoin didn't. The real question is, if when the S&P dumps, or if it dumps, will Bitcoin dump with it? Which I think it's quite likely. Okay, either way, we've got a very strong resistance here around about 4,000 points on the S&P. And if we cannot get back above 4,060, 4,100 points, which is basically getting acceptance inside of this volume cluster here, and if we get rejected there, that means obviously that we're going to try and find acceptance back inside of this cluster here. And if that's the case, it could drag Bitcoin down with it. So just be careful what you're trading with and what you're exposed to, because like I said, the pump did not materialize on Bitcoin. But the dump might do. Okay, so that's basically all I wanted to say here. Although this is looking fairly bullish here, I mean, we've not, we're still doing lower highs, lower lows, lower highs, lower lows. Here there was a fake out, right? So we kind of went above the previous low, so it looked like it was very bullish, and then we still carry on doing lower highs and lower lows. Okay, so here we are, we're still kind of doing this is the previous high here, which is in perfect line with this volume cluster here, and as long as we stay below 4,100 points, then this is still bearish. Okay, if we break about 4,100 points, then we still got 4,200, which is the yearly VWAP here, that will definitely cause resistance anyway, but this is the level to watch out for, this low volume node that we've got here. So that's that for the S&P. If we look at Bitcoin, I'm going to do a top-down approach. So what I'm doing with this is the Coinbase chart. Okay, just because it's a little bit more complete than Bybit or BitMEX or any other chart really. And this is the index one, but I can go on the Coinbase one just to make it a little bit easier to see. And what I've got here is a 12-month chart. And if you look at these 12-month candles, you can see very clearly that we've got a level here. This level here, right? Let me just take the magnet off. At $13,863. Okay, so let's say 14,000 or 13,800, right? And this is the next yearly level that looks like we're on our way to tag. Okay, so I want you to pay attention to this level, 14,000 or 13,800. Okay, there's loads of confluence here, so I just want you to remember that level moving forward. Okay, of course, this here is another yearly level here. This here is another yearly level, and I'm just looking at the candle closes and candle open, if you know what I mean, right? So I'm just looking at that, and it looks like we're definitely on our way to this one, right? So if I transfer this onto a monthly chart now, and I look at the monthly chart, you can see that 13,800 has perfect confluence with the candle close of 2018, right? So on the last bull run, the bull run before last, if you like, this was the high. This is where the candle closed, right? So, and here it was resistance, broke out above it, and we've not tested that as support yet. So, make of that what you will, but usually resistance tends to flip to support, and this has not been tested yet as support. So I do think that 13,800, 14,000 is a really important level. Okay, not only visible on the 12-month chart, but also on the monthly chart. All right, if I put some monthly levels there, I'll ignore this one here just because it's also a yearly level, and I think that kind of is more important than the monthly levels. But you can see that we've also got some monthly levels here, 10,000, 6,000, and we've got some at 20,500 and 23,300. But I'm not too concerned about that. I'm more interested in these levels here, and I'll explain to you why in just a minute. Okay, so I'm just going to leave this chart here for a second so that you guys can see. But like I said, 13,800, 14,000 is an important level. So that's from the top down approach. Now, if I look at EXO charts, and I just wanted to show you something here on EXO charts, and if I look at this daily volume profile, right, so this goes back about 3 years, right, you can see that we've got a point of control here that we're just, I mean, it depends on what the tick size or whatever, but let's just say that we've not quite tagged it yet. We've bounced there, yeah, 15,500 or whatever, but we've not quite tagged it yet. Now I want you to pay attention to the next. There's a big gap here in points of control, and then there's two very close points of control together, and where are they sitting? 13,800. Okay, so I just wanted to show you that just for reference. So again, 13,800 has that little bit of confluence there, right? So on the higher time frame, if I'm looking at just these 12-month levels, then I know that 14k is a decent place to buy. Okay, I'd be definitely looking at that place to buy, and we're not too close, not too far away from it. I mean, you could argue that 16,800 is quite far, but I don't think it's that far, especially if you look at this monthly chart here, or even at the weekly chart here. Okay, even looking at the weekly chart, you can see here that this was resistance. This was kind of resistance there. We broke above it, found resistance there, come down, and we've not tested this previous level of resistance here. So, I think that's an important level moving forward. Let's go on to the Coinbase chart, but on the smaller time frames. And I just wanted to show you this just to kind of put things into context, right? So again, let's start with the higher time frames. If I was to look at that 13,800 level, that's right here, right? You can see that in terms of volume, which you can see here on the right, right? You can see here on the right, in terms of volume, there's not really much in the way of volume there, okay? So we're below this volume cluster here, and we're above this massive volume cluster here, right? So, I mean, price can travel very quickly, and it is already. If you put it in perspective here on the weekly chart, you can see that the price can travel very, very quickly all the way down to, 12k, where everybody's kind of wanting the price to go to. And it is quite possible, okay? High volume cluster here, this is the edge of a high volume cluster, so it's likely to cause a bounce there, right? So in case of any liquidation, a cascading liquidation, or a big wick that comes because of FTX or whatever, then you know that 12k and 14k are two levels that you should be looking for. All right, if we look a little bit closer here, you can see that we've got a little bit of a volume cluster there, and of course the volume cluster has perfect confluence, or the top edge of that volume cluster has perfect confluence with that 13,800 level. Okay, so again, 14k, 13,800, all right, which is previous resistance there. On top of that, let me just remove some of those brush marks here. Right, so this is what I wanted to show you here, right? So the volume profile. On top of that, we've got a previous level, which is an important level of support here, right? This important level of support sitting at around about 18,800, right? Note how it's the bottom edge of the lower edge of this high volume cluster. This for me is the line in the sand. If we can break above 18,800, so $19,000, then I think we're off to the races. And I'll show you this on different time frames in a minute, okay? But this is, again, previous level of support. We've dumped below. If we get a retest there, are you going to go long? Well, I think that's a little bit silly, okay? Previous level of support, we broke below it. If we do get all the way to 19,000 or 18,600 or whatever, then I think this is a great entry for a short. And again, I'll be targeting these levels down here, all right, where I'll be looking to buy. Of course, if we do get all the way up there and the price rallies above it and does like a sort of a rounded retest, comes back and confirms that this is indeed support now, then I'm not looking at shorts here, I'll be looking at longs. But this is important. I want to see some time and space between breaking that level of previous level of support, or level of resistance if you like, so breaking above this and then retesting this and going up. Okay, so I'll show you this on the lower time frames, what I'd be looking for, but that's basically what I wanted to say in terms of resistance and in terms of levels of support. Okay, so again, 14k and 12k, very important levels of support. If we lose that, then it's really bad, and we'll be stuck inside of this high volume cluster, which could take us somewhere between $12,000 and $6,000 quite easily. So I don't think that that's going to happen, although everything's possible. But what it means basically is that we'll be kind of stuck inside of this range, right? And like I said, anything is possible, but I think we've got a very good chance, since these levels are kind of untested since we broke above it here in November 2020, that I do think that there will be quite a few people interested in buying at these levels. That's my that's a narrative, and I'm not into predictions or anything like that. I'm just looking at the chart and what the chart's telling me. Okay, so that is that in terms of levels of support and levels of resistance. Now, if I was to take in fact, let me go on to the other chart. I've got another chart here on Bybit, just so that we look at the lower time frames, all right? And I'm just going to clean it up a little bit, and I'm just going to start with naked chart. Okay, so this is not doing it on that one. So let's just go on to this chart here. Okay, let's just go onto the daily chart. So now you can see what I'm talking about. We've got a massive high volume cluster sitting around about here. The lower edge of that volume cluster is exactly where this previous level of support, okay? This was formed by this price action here, right? So of course, the low volume, the edge of the high volume cluster is going to be around about here, 18,800. If the price managed to get all the way up here, this is a short. This is a short position around about here, okay? Like I said, this is a very good risk management type of short, because of course it's very close to the invalidation, with the invalidation being us breaking above this. Even if we get stopped here at this weekly VWAP, comes back, does a little retest, and if this retest is successful and the price starts going up, that's a long entry, and you'll be targeting the other side of balance, which is around about here. Okay, so that's a very decent long entry. Of course, there's no guarantee that we get that rounded retest or a break above it, and of course, if we do get that short here, then we'll be targeting those levels around about 14k, right, where we could potentially get a decent bounce from there. Okay, this would clean up these poor lows. There are some poor lows there, so it would clean that up, and it would perhaps cause a temporary bottom for now. Okay, so that's what I'm looking for right now in terms of price action. Like I said, I'm looking at, and note, this is the previous, so this is the weekly value area low here. Sorry, this is the quarterly actually. This is not that's not the weekly. The weekly is down here. I'll look at that in just a second. In fact, I can do it just now. So we're looking at the quarterly here. This is the quarterly VWAP, and the quarterly value area low is sitting at around about 18k, right, which is very close to that previous level of support and to the lower edge of this high volume cluster. So 18k for resistance. Okay, so if we were to do, for example, I'm going to put two rectangles here. If I was to look at the chart on the higher time frames, these two rectangles that I've put there, as you can see, are essentially just where these low volume nodes are, okay? And these low volume nodes could cause a bounce. And of course, we've got one sitting at around about $14,000, okay? So 13,800 is the edge of this little tiny volume cluster here, right, the top edge. And of course, we've got 12,700 and 12k as the top edge of this massive volume cluster down here. All right, so these are the two low volume nodes. This is basically where I would look to enter as long entries go, this is where I would look to enter here. And I don't know if we're going to go all the way to 12k, because like I said, I think a lot of people are looking at that. So I'll be definitely looking to buy here at 14k, and then if it goes down to 12k, I'd buy some more here as well. Okay, but I'm quite happy to cut that trade if it does get below 12k, all right, because then we'll be looking at 10k and perhaps even as low as 9k. So I don't want to buy up here, I don't want to buy all the way up here. Although if we do break above here, like I said, I'm quite happy to buy here and trade it all the way up to there. But on the higher time frames, this is the level that I'm looking for: 14k or 13,900 or 13,800, like we were looking at, and of course 12k as well. So I just wanted to show you that on the higher time frames, so that you know where I'd be looking to buy, and that's these two low volume nodes. Okay, if I look at a fixed range here, fixed range volume profile, and we take this volume profile here, you can see, in fact I can leave that, where is the volume profile? There. You can see that just from this range here, right, in fact let me just do it like this. You can see that basically the price just needs to get back inside of this range, okay? But if it does go all the way up to here, of course this is a previous level of support, so the idea here is to short, okay, if we do get it, right? So 18,700, even if it goes to this point of control here around about 19k, it's a short, right? Of course, if we break above 19k, get above the quarterly VWAP, this point of control, and back inside of this high volume cluster, then you'll be looking for longs, and you'll be targeting around about $22,000. All right, that's basically the play here. 18,000 for resistance. If we do break above that, then you'll be looking at long up to 22k. So I think that's kind of like, I kind of made a point already. You already know that I'm looking at 14k and 12k to long. But that's on the higher time frames, all right? So let's have a look at the context for a lower time frame approach. In fact, I'm going to look at the Coinbase chart for that. Right. So we start here with the 30-minute chart, right? So it does look like we accepted back inside the previous week value area, right? So this is the previous week VWAP here, right? And it does look like we accepted there, all right? So we're rotational back inside of this, all right? Next level of resistance for this will be around about $17,000. And of course, if we do break above that, we're looking at 18,900, 19k, which is that very important level that I was talking about of resistance, right? Previous level of support. Right, so you will see how this all starts to kind of like line up together. So in terms of context, it does look like we've just had a nice little pump. Even if we do get a nice little rounded retest all the way back to the weekly VWAP, which is very new, it's only just Monday today. So we could find a little bounce here at 16,300, but at the moment, 16,800, $17,000 is going to be resistance, okay? So you can see there's a low volume node there as well, all right? So let's see if we can find any confluence here. Just looking at this chart here. So on the right here, on the right here, I've got the monthly VWAPs, right? On the left here, I've got the weekly VWAPs. If I was to draw a line here at this bottom of this chart here in red, and I'll make this, sink it in the layout, right? You can see, in fact, let's put this in a different color so that you guys can see it clearly, right? I'll put it in yellow. You can see 18,800, right? So that's more or less where the previous month value area low is. It's more or less where the monthly VWAP is, and of course is exactly where the value area high of this weekly VWAP is. All right, so again, 18,800, $19,000 is a very important level. Break above that and we're back to genius season, and we'll be going to 22k. But for the time being, I don't even know if we've got enough strength to get there. Okay, if we do not get there, the next level of resistance will be around about here, 17,600. That's the previous week VWAP. Okay, the previous weekly VWAP is sitting at around about 17,600, and of course if we break above that, that would be an important level to break. If we can break above that, then great, we might have a chance to get to that 19k, 18,800, but this will cap the price without a shadow of a doubt for now. Okay, so let me just reduce that as well. Okay, so yeah, I mean, even where we are here right now, that yearly level that I was looking at, 13,800, right, 14,000, is not really that far. So the price could quite easily do something like this, come all the way down here, trap everybody short, and then just rally and go to that $18,800 level that we want, right? Or it could actually come all the way up here, 18,800, and then that's your short position, and of course you'll be going to all the way down to that very important level at 14k, which is a really decent trade. That's, I mean, that's 18,000 to 14,000. That's a really decent trade. That's $4,000 a side. Okay, so again, I'm not looking at the 1 minute chart. I'm looking at this from a higher term time perspective. So that's basically what I'm seeing here. So there's some levels that line up. Like I said, the monthly VWAP and the previous month VWAP here lines up perfectly. Let me just delete that. Do that again. Lines up perfectly with the value area high of the previous week. Okay, and it's pretty damn close to where the quarterly VWAP is here at 19k as well. Okay, so let me just draw a circle perhaps, right? I'll just make this a little bit smaller, right? So where that circle is, you can see here on the top right hand corner, I've got the quarterly VWAP there, right? That's where the quarterly VWAP is, and where the previous quarter value area low is there, right? On top of that, that's very close to the bottom left here, to the value area high of the previous week. And of course, if you look closely on the bottom right hand chart here, it's the previous month value area low. So you see how there's a contextual level there. It lines up in many different time frames and on many different, so all the VWAPs, right? So the weekly, the monthly, and the quarterly. And this is how I get my context. And there we are. So that's exactly where it is. Value area high around about 19k, 18,800. That's a very important level of resistance. And I've got 14k and 12k as a very important level of support. Anywhere in between that, it just scalps. That's my advice to you, right? So of course, like I said, if we look at the lower time frames here, we can see that we are kind of on the high volume node here, right? So this is naturally going to be resistance here with this low volume node, but if we do break above it, it'll be very, very quick, and this here will be what caps the price at around about 17,600, right? And like I said, I'm going to repeat myself, if we do manage to break above that, then I think we've got a very good chance to go into 19k. If not, then I think that this will be a very good short, and it'll be going at least all the way back to here. Okay, it does look like the market is pumping here, right? This is a low volume area here, so it'll probably pump very quickly, at least to about 17,300 or whatever, but it could also be a fake out. We'll have a look at the footprint in a second, because I'm trying to make this quite a complete one, because I'm not going to have time to do any TA updates for quite some time. So we'll have a look at EXO charts and see what we're seeing. So I hope everybody's clear of what I'm looking on the higher time frames, and the levels that I'm looking for the short term, but on a higher time frame. So let's look at EXO charts, right? So again, I'm looking at higher time frames here, but let's look at BTC on the shorter time frames here. Okay, so this is interesting. I'll start with the footprint. Here we go, look. This is typical, right? So now we get high volume range here. Of course, these guys got trapped. Price comes down. It's still being supported around about 16,600. Price rallies. And of course, everybody's buying at the highs. Now, look how much delta buying there is here at this high here, and the candle closed red, right? So if I was to put T size, okay, it does look like it's sustainable buying, but you know, these guys, even though the candle closed here, they were trapped. These guys are being let out at the moment, okay, because obviously the price, they thought, oh shit, the price is dumping, we just bought the top. As soon as the price comes back to it, of course, they're getting out of break even, so that's why we've got so much sell volume here. So this could be a really good entry for a short here. But again, this changes, and this TA update will be very quickly outdated if I just focus on this. If I look at this here, this is on Bybit, of course, you can see that there's quite a lot of buying going on here. The net longs are increasing, the net shorts are getting out and basically getting squeezed out, and there's a lot of buying going on, okay? So there's buying going on. This is not just shorts closing. These are the shorts closing here with the grey candles, but you can see here that there's quite a lot of buying happening here, all right? So if I was to take this off, high delta volume candle here with a lot of buys. If this candle closes red, then you can pretty much guarantee that it'll retrace this whole move here, right? So that's basically what I would look for on the footprint. But let's look at the market profile chart, which is the chart that I mostly look at, okay? So it looks like we've cleaned up the poor highs here. We do have a poor high here at right about 17,600, which is coincidentally that level that I was looking for, which is basically where we've got the weekly VWAP, right? So right here, the previous week VWAP is sitting at around about 17,650. 17,300 we got a naked point of control, and where do we have those poor highs? 17,650. Okay, so there are some poor highs there. This could quite easily get all the way up there and then come all the way back down. Another thing that I want you to notice as well is how much buying there was here and here, and also here actually for that matter, but the price here just kind of rallied up as well. Okay, so these guys, the price has not revisited that. So there's a naked point of control here right about 17,300, and just above that there's a lot of trapped buyers here. Okay, so trapped apes at that level means that if the price does get all the way up to here, these guys will be getting out at break even if they can. Okay, they got probably trapped on the debacle with the whole FTX thing, thinking that we were going to pump on this, and of course these guys got trapped. So if the price does go all the way up to here, this will be strong resistance here on the lower time frames at 17,300. Break above that, like I said, we've got 17,600, which is that previous week VWAP. And of course, if we break above that, then I think that we've got a pretty good case to go all the way to 19K. And again, 19K, if you remember, is that high level of confluence, 18,800, 19K. Look at else we've got there. We've got some single prints at 19K. Right, so this is likely to be resistance. We've also got some poor highs here at 18,600. So again, this is an important level of resistance. Okay, break above that, and then basically the market, you shouldn't be looking for shorts. The market's telling you that something's changed. Okay, broke above the single prints, then I think it's safe to assume that we're going to start targeting these naked points of control here, right about 19,700. Sorry, there's one at 19,700. Break above that, or above this single print at 19K. There is 19,700, there's 20,700, and also 21,200. Okay, so, and there's some naked point of control here at $22,000. All right, so that's basically being accepted back inside of that range. But for me, this range here, like I said, is previous level of support, 18,800, and I don't think we've got enough strength to break above that. Okay, there's some single prints there as well. But breaking above that, that would be very interesting. We've got some naked points of control all the way to 22K, and we'd be back inside of this range, all right, like I showed you here on the candlestick chart. Okay, so again, breaking above this level here, right, that means that we're almost certainly going to 22K. All right, so basically traversing the whole of this high volume cluster here. All right, so that's basically acceptance back inside of this range and going all the way to the other side of the range. All right, which would leave a lot of people wrecked, because there's a lot of people short down here thinking that we're going to carry on going down. So again, like I said, this level is for shorting. Break above that, do not bother with any more shorts. You go long. However, here you should be looking for shorts targeting this level down here. All right, just because there's positive EV, expected value, right? So, you know, it's just one of those things. You don't want to be short here because, of course, we've got all the way up to here. And you don't want to be wrong. If you're wrong, you could be wrong all the way up to here. However, if you do short all the way up here, right? Let me just look at this a second. Short position. It's very easy to just put your stop loss just above that, like that. And your reward exceeds the risk by about 7, a ratio of 7, okay? So 7 to 1. So, you know, it's much easier to look for shorts up here. Yes, you could be looking for longs down here, but for me that's a dangerous play. I'd much rather wait and see if we're going to retest this previous level of support, right? Of course, if we do go all the way down here first, then I'll be interested in longs. All right, so that's basically what I'm seeing here. With XO charts, the same thing, right? Like I said, we do have some poor highs that need clearing up. We've got some trap buyers all the way up here at 17,300 and 17,600. So those guys could cause the resistance that we need, but we're seeing quite a high level of buying here. And I tend to think that these guys are going to get trapped. So if you know how to look at footprints, I'd be looking at footprints and seeing if indeed these guys get trapped, which in fact looks like they are already. These guys here, they've all bought, and here the price, they've bought at sort of 17,000 and the price is already just below that, okay? So if we look at the shorter time frames here, there's all that buying. The price retested it. Those guys sold because they thought, oh shit, we're going to get trapped here. And here we are, we're kind of below that now, okay? Break above this, and yes, we've got legs to go up. But if it starts kind of running down here now, then of course we could be going all the way back down to the origin of this pump, which is round about here, around about $15,900, $16,000. Okay, so I think that's pretty much it. I mean, there's not really a lot else I can do. I've already given you the higher time frame levels. I'm giving you some levels here on the market profile. The other market profile I look at slightly different, and I'm sorry about this. It is very, very bright, but it's exactly the same thing. And I'll be looking again at 19,100, the single print as the line in the sand. Okay, 19k, right? As you can see here very clearly, we got some poor highs that need cleaning up, right? We got a naked value area high there as well that needs cleaning up at around about 18,300. And we got quite a lot of anomalies to the upside, so I wouldn't be surprised to see the price go all the way up here and then turn around and come all the way back down again. So am I bearish or bullish? It doesn't really matter, and it shouldn't matter to you. Okay, of course we're still in a bear market. The price, you can see it on the weekly chart, we're still doing lower highs and lower lows. All right, so there's no end in sight here. Okay, so let me just take these brush marks off. If you look at this objectively here on the weekly or even on the daily chart, you can see that we're still doing lower highs and lower lows, and none of that has changed. So you're very much still in a bear market. There's nothing that has changed here. It looked like we had changed here, it changed course here, because we'd broken a few previous highs here. We started doing higher highs and higher lows, and then the price could just not get back inside that value area low of 2022 VWAP. So we kind of like just been knocked down here, 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 and then here looked very promising, but of course now with this shenanigan with the FTX, of course we're back below it again. So it did look like we were going to break market structure, but of course we haven't yet. Okay, so another level of confluence here around about 18,900. Of course, it's the value area low of the 2022 VWAP, as you can see here. Right, so there's just loads of confluence there. Break above that, absolutely fantastic. That means we're going to 22k. But you should be looking at these levels here, 18,600, 19,000 as a level to short. And that's my bias on it. That's how I see this, okay? And again, I'll be targeting these levels down here, 14k, maybe even 12k. But again, Bitcoin has a habit of not wanting to do what people want it to do. Okay, but you never know. This is on Coinbase. Let's go back to that Bybit chart. Right, it's funny how this is another thing that I noticed as well. Right, if you look at this blue line here, right, this is the 2020 VWAP close, right, and it's sitting at around about 14k as well. Isn't that funny? So if I was to look at that level again, and you're looking at the low volume nodes here, 14k, 13,900, that's the level that you want to be looking at. Of course, it can go a little bit lower, and if there are liquidations happening and more things happening with FTX, then by all means put some low ball orders around about 12k, because you might get lucky with a very long wick where the price wicks that level there and it never goes back there and starts ranging here before it starts going back up again, right? So if you want to catch a decent knife, around about 12k limit order, and then also some here at 14k. That's my advice to you. I'm not a financial advisor, I'm just an idiot, so just don't take this as financial advice. This is for educational and entertainment purposes only, and I said that you should do this and you should do that, but I'm not a financial advisor, okay? I'm not qualified. I just trade and I look at the chart, and when I say that you should do this, I'm actually talking to myself. This is what I do, what I would do if the price would get there, okay? So take everything with a pinch of salt. I hope this was useful to you. I hope you enjoy it. Keep safe. Like I said, don't keep too much money on the exchanges, because we could see some repercussions out of this FTX shenanigan. And just just be safe, right? Just keep most of the money off the exchanges. This is it for now. I hope that it was useful. I will try and do another TA update whenever I can, but life is busy. I'm doing a lot of work on the side outside of crypto. So yeah, stay safe, trade smart, and look after yourself, guys. Take care. Bye bye.